This section is titled Ratios and Proportions. Please title your notes, Ratios and Proportions. Section 2-6. I think it's helpful to label your notes with this section title. That way you have a place of reference in your textbook. Couple of things that we're going to do in this section: compare ratios and solve proportions. Let's first talk about what a ratio is. We just talked about it a few minutes ago. What is a ratio? A fraction. We don't always call them ratios. Most of the time we call them fractions. We're comparing two things. We're comparing parts to wholes. Proportions, those are when we have two ratios that are set equal. We might solve a proportion. An example might be, that's a proportion we might solve. It's two ratios that are set equal. Trying to solve and figure out what value of n is going to make them equivalent. So let's look at some examples here. The first thing we're going to do is decide if two ratios are equivalent or not. So this is how I want you to take notes. Into your notes, you're going to write example 1. Okay? Give yourself an organized place to reference later when you get home or you're working on homework and have questions. Example 1, we are trying to decide whether these two ratios are equivalent or not. So go ahead in your notes and jot down those two ratios that we are given. 7/8 and 49/56. There are several different ways that we could go about trying to decide if these two are equivalent or not. The most efficient way, or the way that we're going to work with, is by multiplying one of the numerators and the opposite denominator. So on your calculator, please take 7 times 56. What do you get? 392. 8 49ths. Excuse me, not 8 49ths. 8 times 49. Also 392. Are these equivalent ratios? Yes. We call this either cross product. Sometimes they're called multiplying the means and the extremes. These two are equivalent. Now in the directions it says to justify your answer. This right here is the justification. Showing this step is necessary. I don't want you just to say yes or no, but I want you also to justify. Now I am going to state yes that they are equivalent. My justification, the 392 equals 392, that's telling you that you multiplied the means and the extremes or did the cross product. There's another way that we could have done this. How else might you compare ratios?
Divide each side.
Divide. Let's do that. Let's take 7 divided by 8. What do you get? 0.875. If we take 49 divided by 56, what do you get?
0.875.
They need to be the same. We just figured them to be here. So again, this shows, this is justification enough for me. This shows that these two are equivalent ratios. There's another way.
Could you take the first ratio and multiply it, like multiply each of them by a number, and if they both equal the second ratio, would that work?
Very good, James. Very good. What number would you multiply?
7.
By 7?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we take this first fraction, multiply the numerator and denominator by 7. 7 times 7 is?
49.
And 8 times 7 is? 56. That is equivalent to the second ratio. Any one of these 3 methods will be sufficient for me. There's 2 things I need. Number 1 is justification. Show me that they are equivalent. And number 2, I need you to state, yes, they are, or no, they're not. That lets me know that you know how to decide if they're equivalent, and that yes or no, that they are equivalent.
Couldn't you also take 7 divided by 49 and 8 divided by 56?
That may be a coincidence if they're both 7. I don't know that that's always going to work. I have to think about that for a second. I know you can multiply and get it. You might be able to simplify a fraction. That would work. 49 divided by 7. Is that what you were thinking?
I was thinking 7 divided by 49 and 8 divided by 56.
Like this?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that way will work, but if you simplify a fraction, it would be another way to think about it. That would work too. Because these won't always go in perfectly. Let's look at another example. Actually, this is a multiple choice one that you can use your clickers for. On your clickers, I want you to determine whether the two ratios are equivalent ratios. So in your notes, what you need to do is write example 2, copy down the two ratios, and determine whether they are equivalent or not. Let us do it. Again, once you make your determination whether they are equivalent or not, submit it on your clicker. Make sure you hit send. Very good. You guys all agree that it is they are equivalent. Yay. Did you use the cross product to determine?
Yeah.
Okay. 5 times 49 is?
245.
245 is correct. And 6 times 40?
200.
240. They're close, but not quite. Now, notice that I put the line through that equal sign. What does that mean?
Non-equal.
Not equal. In your justification, don't say that 245 equals 240. That's not true. Make sure you do put the not equal to the line through the equal sign. Right. Put the line through it. What else do we need to state? No. No. They're not equal. Sometimes they're not going to be as obvious. Sometimes they're going to have decimals. Not a big deal. We can still determine. So in your notes, let's put example 3 and then copy down those two ratios. We're still going to solve the same way using the cross product. It's probably the most efficient way in this case. 0.25 times 2, 0.5, and 0.6 times 1.25,
0.75.
0.75. Are these two ratios equivalent?
No.
What does equivalent mean, by the way? I'm just
Equivalent
assuming
means equal out on both sides.
equal. Equivalent means equal. These are not equivalent, so we're going to put the line or the slash to our equal sign. And we are going to state, what else do we need?
No.
No. Again, you need justification. Show me how you arrived at your no answer. And then also state no on both things. Skip that one. Go to this one. I want you guys to try this one on your own if you would, please. On your clicker. Determine whether these are equivalent. So this would be example 4, I believe. and you can submit your answer. You want to change your decimal? What you want to do? If you have, for example, if you have like 40 decimal. Guys, we are probably going to be working up until the bell. A lot of times that's going to happen, and you'll have to take some work with you to work on. You're welcome to stick around for an advisory if you're not in tutoring to work. If you're on our check, I'm going to have to let you stay, but we are probably working to the bell. Number 7. Very good. Very good. Most of you agree, or all of you agree that it's A. Real quick. 0.5 times 1.17
5.585.
and 1.3
0.585.
of course these two are equivalent. Let's continue on. This is example 5, I believe. We are going to solve the proportion that's given. We want to figure out what number we can put in for n that's going to make these two ratios equal. Sometimes it's going to be obvious, sometimes it's not. So we're going to have to do a little bit of work. We're still going to do it the same way we were doing. How were we determining if they were equal?
Cross multiply.
Cross multiply. And we're going to do it the same way. Let's do this one. So n times 8 is?
8n.
8n. Equals 12 times 3?
36.
How are we solving this equation?
Divide by 8 on each side.
Divide by 8.
8 cancel out. And it would equal 4.5.
Hang on a second. 36 eighths. Can you simplify that fraction? Yes. 4 goes into both. How many times does 4 go into 36? 9. And 4 goes into 8? Twice. Don't be afraid of those fractions. 9/2. Now, I would take this one as a decimal because it is terminating. 9/2 is the same as 4.5. 12 times 3 is 36. I had this right here. 8n equals 36. Are you sure? Do you see where I got this fraction? You want to do it in your head? I want you to show it on paper.
Where did you get 902? No, I'm confused where the was divided by 4.
You okay for I got 36 eighths?
Yeah.
What I say, you okay? I knew that could simplify. 4 goes into both of those. 4 goes into 36 9 times. And 4 goes into 8 twice. I'm just simplifying the fraction. I'll also take this as a decimal of 4.5 because it's a terminating decimal. Please copy this example down. This is a good one to have in your book, in your notebook, because it's not like all the others. We're going to have to do a little bit of distributing. X plus 4 divided by 12 equals 3/4. We want to know what value we can put in for x. It's going to make these two ratios equivalent. To make it form a proportion. So cross multiply. I'm not just taking 4 times x, am I?
No.
We're taking 4 times that entire numerator, so we need parentheses. Again, I'm taking 4 times the whole numerator, so I put that x plus 4 in parentheses. Does that make sense? 12 times 3 is? 36. Could you solve this equation?
No.
Should be able to. 4 times x?
4x.
4 times 4 equals 36. To solve an equation, we typically try to get rid of our addition and subtraction, undo our addition and subtraction first. So we have plus 16, what undoes plus 16?
Minus 16.
Minus 16. For x equals 36 minus 16 is 20. Divide by 4 to undo the multiplication. 20 divided by 4 is 5. How could we be certain that that is the right answer?
Put it in.
Plug it back in. Guys, anytime we're solving an equation, you should always get it right because you can check it. Put 5 back in. 5 plus 4 is
9.
9. So our numerator here is 9. Now cross multiply. 9 times 4. 9 times 4.
Or 27.
36. 9 times 4 is 36. 12 times 3. 36. Those two are. Alright, these next couple problems have words in them. Don't stress yourself out because it has words. Some of you guys make these way harder than they have to be. Give it a chance. I promise you're going to get better at these. It says the ratio of a gear on a bicycle is 8 to 5. This means that for every 8 turns of the pedals, the wheel turns 5 times. Suppose the bicycle wheel turns about 2,435 times during a trip. How many times would you have to crank the pedals during the trip? The first thing you need to do is understand what they're telling you. That's the most important part of the word problem. Think about riding a bicycle. You pedal with your feet, right? And the big tire spins. You gotta pedal with your feet a lot more times than the big tire is spinning, correct? Okay. So what they're telling you is that ratio is 8 to 5. What is 8 representing?
8 is
What about the pedals?
pedal.
How many times the pedals turn, correct? Okay. So on your paper, put 8. And then next to it, put pedal turns. That numerator we are denoting as a number of pedal turns. What does 5 represent?
Wheel turns.
Wheel turns. So in your ratio, we have 8 in the numerator. We're going to put 5 in the denominator. Put wheel turns in our denominator. We are trying to figure out what? What do we not know in this case?
How much pedals are to 2,435 wheel turns?
So they're saying, what if the wheel turns 2,435 times? How many times would you have to crank the pedals? Okay. So we're just going to set up another ratio. So say equals, if you haven't already done so, equals. We have 8 over 5 equals. We don't know how many pedal turns, do we? That's what we're trying to figure out. But we do know that the wheel is going to turn 2,435 times. So P over 2,435. Could you solve this equation?
Yes.
Of course we could. Cross multiply.
5.
8 times 2,435
19,480
equals 5
5
times P.
5p.
5P.
Divide 5 on each side, which would equal, P would equal 3. What was that?
3,896. Now, I'm going to be a stickler. You guys will soon see that I like attention to detail. 3,896,
Pedal.
what kind of turns? Is it wheel turns or pedal turns?
Pedal.
Pedal turns that I want you to label. I would mark it off on a test or a quiz. I want you to be very specific. I mean, we're talking about $3,896, 3,896 dogs, or pedal turns. Okay, be specific. I want to do one more problem like this where we've got to set up the proportion ourselves, and it'll be our last example. It's a multiple choice, we're going to do it together. Trent goes on a 30-mile bike ride every Saturday. He must have a lot of time on his hands. He rides the distance in 4 hours. At this rate, how far can he ride in 6 hours? So Trent's going on this trip every Saturday. We know that Trent can ride 30 miles in how much time?
4,
In 4 hours. So how much is that
30
per hour?
would be
15.
Not 7.5, not minutes, but
7.5
far
miles.
can you go in an hour? Miles. You got a good job. So we're talking about miles. What's up?
If I could have your attention, please. I have quite a few announcements to finish out our day.
30
Reminder
miles.
that those of you who signed up to watch Divergent, it's tomorrow at 5:30 in the middle school auditorium. And Mrs. Falls will also have 7 more copies of the book club book. If you still need a copy, you can pre-order with Mrs. Lee, and first come, first served. There will be no more book club books ordered, and a reminder, book club is coming up here in October. Continue to vote for Logan Minner for Player of the Week on Chris Newer's Facebook page tonight. There are out-of-town dance forms in the office. The dance is this Friday from 9 to 11:30. There are signs up all over school, $5 for the dance. And also, you're running out of time if you're going to bring an out-of-town date. So make sure you get those forms if you plan on bringing one. Also, this Friday is the ACT sign-up deadline for the October ACT. That you will not have to pay the late fee. So make sure if you plan on taking the ACT in October, that you go ahead and get it done before Friday. The MC Mad Dash 5K Run Walk is October
You guys see
4th,
this right here?
and early registration deadline is this Saturday.
Copy this down.
So our registration forms available in the office. Stuco is selling t-shirts for $5. That decoration to decorate, that day is Thursday that you will have those t-shirts decorated. So make sure you see Miss Hayes if you want to buy a t-shirt to decorate. Any junior or senior who is interested in playing college athletics needs to see the guidance office as you need to register for the NCAA or NAIA. There are costs that are to apply. See the guidance if you have any questions. Congrats to our JV football game last night on a great win over South Shelby, the new Langston Field.
Quietly.
And good luck this evening to our Lady Panthers as they take on Paris out to Lions Club Field. Come on out and cheer on the Lady Panthers. It's a 5 o'clock varsity only game out at the Lions Club Field where you black and gold. And here are our winners.